Hi everyone, welcome to the Smashi Business Show. I'm Ward Ahmed and today I have one of my favorite writers with me today,
Thank
Annika
you.
here. How are
Thank
you
you.
doing today?
I'm doing good. Very nervous to be here because it's been a bit, and in general, I'm not really sure how to speak about business. But yeah, let's see what happens.
We're gonna get there. You know, it's funny that you tell me I don't know how to speak about business because I hope not a lot of people are hearing this, but there was a time in my life, Annika, where I was not interested in business whatsoever.
Oh.
No.
No. Don't get me wrong. I'm very interested in business. I truly believe it's what's keeping the world running right now, you know. But I just don't know if I'm wise enough to comment on it, you know.
I think you are. I think
Okay.
you are. You just have to trust what you're saying because you know we discuss entrepreneurs a lot here. We always speak about them, and actually, what makes all their businesses special is because of their different outlooks on life. Their different outlooks on business.
That's so interesting.
No, seriously,
That is very
it's the
interesting.
way that they lead with things that decides what. It's the way that they lead with things that decides what kind of business that they're actually going to have. Like, for example, like I hear some entrepreneurs, they say that, you know, my business, it's in my employees. I treat my employees well, my business is going to go well. And then, you know, you have others who are like, crunch down, crunch time, I got to go down on it. No, I'm being serious. Like, they think that if they enforce a very strong form of discipline, their business is going to be successful. So no, actually, whatever you say might actually be wise. But I want to know, how was your day? How are you doing?
My day was good, but actually speaking about your whole business and entrepreneurial and the mindset, so and so, I want to talk to you about this post that I came across. So
Ooh.
there's a content creator I follow on Instagram,
Yeah.
and she. Because New Year is coming and, you know, all the content is going into becoming a new person, so and so.
Yeah.
She actually put up a reel talking about how at the beginning of this year, she was struggling with like her physical health, her mental health. She was trying to be an entrepreneur, but also trying to become a content creator. And it was not going well. Like, it was too many things on her plate and she couldn't focus. And now, like with that reel, she announced that she was stopping her entrepreneurial venture.
Damn.
And she's going into full-time content creation. I don't know how to feel about this because I know that sometimes a lot of people, like if you look at Huda Beauty, for example, started a brand and then went into content creation. Whereas so this is like going the whole reverse route, you know, you're becoming a content creator first and then what, maybe eventually down the line you start a brand, do something
Do you know
on
what
your
her
own.
brand is or like her name
I
is,
think
Annika?
she was doing a content, I don't know if I want to mention her name. Should I?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
Put it
okay,
out there.
shout out to Noorul Ain. She
Ain.
yeah, she's a Pakistani content creator if I'm not wrong. And she so she actually had a content creation thing on the side.
Yeah.
Content creation agency, so she would make
Oh.
reels for brands. And now she stopped. She said she let go of her last client and she's no longer going to focus on making reels for other companies. She's just going to do that for herself and her brand, her content. So first of all, my question is, at this point, we've reached this point in social media
Yeah.
where content creation itself has become sort of an entrepreneurial venture, haven't we?
Yes, I think that's why she quit. She quit her company because
Yeah.
if you think about it, man, she was doing the same thing.
She was doing two businesses essentially.
But are the same thing. Like she's making reels for herself and she's making reels for clients. You know what I think happened here? She got sick of writing for that. She got sick of making reels for them. She wanted to make it for herself.
Yeah, she said she wasn't able to focus her energy in making the content she wanted to make for herself. You know?
This is so interesting.
I just feel like
Yeah.
we're looking at content creation itself as like this little cute little thing of like girls going in front of the camera and
It's
like
not.
you know pointing
It's
at
not,
text
man.
and making fun videos and dancing.
Yeah.
That's the fun part of content creation. But then there's also like the
Fun.
back end, like you know, drafting the content, creating the idea,
Exactly.
coming out with the hook, and also if you're dealing with brands, getting the payment on time. making sure you've
approval.
got payment, doing invoices,
The chase,
banking,
everything.
all of those things. And that itself, and like, you know, or like pitching to brands, pitching ideas. You're essentially a full functioning business all on your own.
You know, I remember there was this, I went to this one event. It was actually, it was an event at USERIN for the launch of this new serum that they had. And that was actually one of my like first big industry event where I wasn't seeing celebrities, I was seeing influencers. And influencers at their best, like it was crazy, Annika, all the influencers from the UAE were at this event. All of them were there. And can I tell you something? These people weren't having fun, man. You're right, it is a business to them. They weren't having fun. They weren't talking to people. You know what they were doing? Can you get the lighting out? Man, we really need to take this photo properly.
Yeah.
We need to get footage of
You
this.
do not
we need
want
to
to
get
come
footage
in
of that.
between.
And then I met one of my favorite influencers. You know Natasha Aris? Oh, she's such a sweetheart. And the reason why I mentioned she's a sweetheart is because she's dead drop gorgeous. And honestly, sometimes with the internet, when I see a dead drop gorgeous girl, I'm thinking, are you Regina George? Are you? You might be. But when I met her, she was really sweet. I met some of them who are mean, real life.
Of course.
You know, you don't want to always meet your heroes. But Natasha Aris, she was really sweet. And you know what she was telling me? She's like, I need to shoot something for USERIN. And actually, Charlotte Tilbury is here. I need to go downstairs and shoot something for her.
Ooh.
Imagine.
So much.
Two brands at the same
Same
time
time.
that she needs to shoot for. Wow, it really has become a business.
It is a
You're not-
business, I
you're
think,
right.
because you're making money out of it.
Yeah.
So it becomes a business. Not an easy one, because a lot of times, because you not only have to deal with people telling you so, you're just recording videos and you get to go for events for free and eat free food, but you're also handling so many other things.
You know,
But
it's so interesting,
kudos.
Annika, that you mentioned that, you know, you get to go to events for free and you get things for free. You know, just very recently, I was told by someone that always be careful of the gifts that you receive.
Nothing is
in
free.
this industry.
Nothing is free.
Yes, she literally nailed it. Nothing is free because they'll give it to you and then like give them like a day, give them a week, give them a month, and they'll be like, hey, can you make this little
Remember?
video for us?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a hidden bribe. You just don't notice
100%
it. You
it is
don't
a
notice
bribe.
it. You don't
PR
notice
gifts
it.
are a bribe. They're telling you to do something for them. They're telling
Yeah.
you, keep me in mind. They're telling you, but like, yeah, I mean, it's a bribe, or you can even see it as a form of payment. But
Yeah.
a lot of people get annoyed because they're like, it's not payment. It doesn't, like, your chocolates don't pay my rent,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. But also at the same time, I don't know. It's each one to their own.
No, you're
in
right.
terms of business.
It is each to their own, and it's like, okay, like for example, like someone who I can think of who I really really love, Twinkle. Twinkle is a UAE-based
Twinkle
influencer,
stand, yeah.
and she just very recently, and she's been vlogging it for us. She's Indian, and she quit Cosmo to fully focus on her internet personality career. And for her, I genuinely feel like it's working out because she's enjoying it and she loves the freedom that it gives her. However, you know, when I go back to the story of, you know, the lady quitting her business of making reels for people, I get it, Annika, and you know I get it because of the fact that I'm a writer. And I sometimes freelance write for people. So I do like branding work, you know, about pages, things like that. And what basically happened to me is I started hating it. Because in my brain, I'm writing for you. I'm not writing for myself.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to start hating it. When
Yeah.
you're doing something that's a passion that you have, but you're doing it for other people so they can be, you're not going to love it that much.
I heard a while ago you should never make your hobby your passion. Like, you should never make your passion your career.
That's deep.
Like,
That's
keep
so
them
deep.
separate.
I so agree with you because I really started hating it. But at the same time, though, I would say that I've reached a point, Annika, where because of the fact that I'm writing every single day, writing is not as stressful as it used to be for me. Like, I don't sit there like stressed, like, will the idea come to me? Will it? It just comes. It comes.
Yeah, it build a discipline.
Right? You
Writing
build
is more a discipline.
I so agree with you. But can you
But-
expand on that?
It's just a discipline. You don't sit to write. Writing is more like a training. You have to train yourself. Like with any skill, you have to sit at your computer every day
Yeah.
and go like, I'm not going to leave this place until I finish writing 500 words.
Yeah.
And no matter what 500 words, if it's a bad 500
It's
words, if
horrible.
it's the greatest lines you've ever written, Shakespeare himself is jealous of you. It doesn't matter. You need to be able to write 500 words.
Yeah.
And then you get up. And like when you consistently do that over a period of time, it compounds. And every sentence counts. You're building towards something.
Yeah, I agree with you. And now, just going back to our main topics for the day, number one, we have Saudi Arabia. Now, Saudi Arabia has temporarily halted its bid for full membership in BRICS, the economic bloc of emerging powers, including Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, as well as recent additions like Egypt, the UAE, and Iran. Now, despite this, the kingdom plans to continue engaging with the group, which seeks to counterbalance Western economic dominance. Saudi Arabia's decision in this is specifically strategically aligning with the balancing act in global alliances, navigating relationships with both BRICS and Western nations.
Now, I know that this is a very important story because it's highlighting how Saudi Arabia is trying not to go into either side. Because if you align with the BRICS, it maybe the U.S. administration is going to see it as more of like an against them kind of a movement. So this move, it's a good reflection of Saudi Arabia's foreign policy approach. It avoids full alignment with the BRICS while maintaining an influence still in the bloc, because BRICS right now is it's being seen as kind of going against the US in some sense, because they want to reduce the dependency on the US dollar, which is something they've been talking about for a while.
Yeah, and you have China there.
Yeah.
And the only
China and Russia.
Yeah, and
So
the
that's
only
two.
country that rivals America's GDP is China. So they're the most powerful, both of them.
Exactly. So, this is Saudi Arabia's pause can be seen as an attempt to sidestep geopolitical risks. And because Saudi Arabia is also such an ally of the US,
Yeah.
So it's definitely not it's definitely a more strategic diplomatic decision taken by Saudi Arabia itself to keep flexible, help its economy. And I think you can't blame them. You have to, as a country, you have to look out for yourself. You have to look out for your interests.
Of course.
This seems like the most viable option. Why make bad blood?
But Annika, when I see this story, I don't see it as just them looking out for their interest, because of the fact that we're constantly hearing that Saudi Arabia has this 2030 plan where they're trying to diversify. What I'm seeing here is a country that is standing alone and wants to stand alone and wants to become that power.
Very interesting.
I don't
necessarily.
I see your point, and I think it's a really good point, but I don't necessarily see them as trying to side with anybody.
Yeah.
I just see them as trying to develop such a strong self-reliance. And already, they have Aramco, one of the
biggest.
Exactly, biggest and one of the best oil producers in the world. And, with their diversification plan, I think it really stems from that, them wanting to stand alone, because I always say this to Majid, Annika, when countries rely on other countries, it doesn't always work out.
Like our conversation with the PRs, no gift is for free, nothing is for free. So when you rely on yourself, as a country, it's much better. Much better
so
for you.
bad, and like we even saw it in the UK because of the Ukrainian crisis. The UK the European Union, they didn't want to rely on the oil from Russia. So what did they do? They had to go to Qatar, and they had to rely on their liquid natural gas. And then what happened? Because of the fact that because they have this policy, Annika, where it's the net zero policy in the European Union. If you trade with them and you're trading in something that's harming the environment, you get taxed 5% on the revenue that you make. But they're purchasing the oil that's ruining the environment, and they're taxing people. What ended up happening is that, I forgot which figure it was, but they actually threatened to cut off their supply of gas to the European Union. So you see that reliance. You see what that reliance creates. So in this case, what I see it as is there's going to come a point, and that point is already here, really, where Saudi Arabia doesn't rely on anybody.
Literally,
and I think
I agree.
And I think that's really what it's a part of.
Yeah, and now their tourism is boosting.
Yeah.
Everything is coming up, and by 2030, definitely we're
And
going
their
to see
startup ecosystem, we hear about it every single day.
So
So
much.
many
So
startups,
much.
so much is coming. And now for our second topic of the day, the UAE has actually become the top investor in Africa, number one.
Speaking of key players in the Middle East.
Yeah. And so essentially between 2019 and 2023, UAE companies committed a staggering $110 billion to new projects in Africa, with $72 billion focused on renewable energy. These are insane numbers.
Yeah.
Insane, really, really big numbers. And when I take a look at this, it's like I'm seeing the UAE's appetite. I'm seeing their appetite. They want to be everywhere, and they want to be number one everywhere.
It's very interesting. It's very fun.
Very
It's a
fun.
very fun time. Yeah, because it's for some reason it reminds me of the oil boom, which happened in the 1900s.
Yeah.
When the oil boom was coming up, that was also a time when the UAE is like, okay, we've got this new lease of life. Let's take it and run. And they did. And now that they're trying to diversify from oil, they're going into new things, they're making new investments in new places, they're spreading their wings, really coming up as an empire.
Yeah, you're right. And it's not, like you said, like new places. This is not any place, this is Africa. The wealth,
new continent.
But the wealth in Africa, Annika, it is not discussed enough. It's not discussed enough, and the few people that know it, they know the power that's in Africa. And it's I remember there was a saying that came out, I believe in the Sky News Arabia, Sudan specifically, was actually coined as Sallat Ghaza al-Alam, meaning that the breadbasket of the world that could feed the entire world. The agriculture in Africa, the gold in Africa that they have, everything that they have, it's absolutely beautiful. I'll tell you this right now, Annika. This is just my personal opinion coming in. Have you ever gone to Africa, by the way?
I did have, yeah.
No way!
Yeah,
Where did you visit?
I went to Kenya, just
Me too!
for a safari.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Oh my God.
It was beautiful. There's something in African skies.
I know.
But you were telling me very passionately about Africa. What were you saying?
No, but Africa, like if you, because I've been to Kenya, I've been to Sudan. My next goal is Egypt. Oh, it's my dream to go to Egypt. It really is, because I love history, or even the artifacts in Africa. Everything that they have, their history, it's so rich. And when you go to Africa, it's the food. The food there.
The food is amazing.
The food, it's because the water, everything there, it's so
fresh.
organic, it's so fresh, it's amazing. But like, when I think of Africa and its history, it saddens me, because I don't know if you know this, but slavery, what actually began it is that Africans were selling their own people. They're the ones who started selling their own people.
Well,
That's
they
how it
were
began.
the birthplace of civilization. So it
Yeah.
makes sense that everything starts from there, including the practice of slavery.
Yeah.
It makes me sad, because I just wish that, because we know that right now at this point, Africa is in urgent need for energy transition funding,
Yeah.
infrastructure, all of that. Even when I went to Kenya, I remember seeing a lot of the railway and everything was being constructed not by African companies, but by China.
Ooh,
So,
interesting.
yeah, I remember my tour guide jokingly telling me that China has kind of taken over a lot of Kenya. Like a lot of the infrastructure,
Was
a
he
lot of the
happy about
development. He was like, okay, I see my country progressing, so that's great, but it's just that I don't see my people progressing.
Ooh.
The country is like, maybe it's getting better in terms of tourism, in terms of infrastructure, but the people remain in the same cycles of poverty. And because, so I think that's why it's very important to be careful with these
course.
investments, make sure it reaches to the people there.
Yeah.
But
Annika, the economist Dambisa Moyo said it best. Aid is dead. It's dead aid.
Yeah.
It's such dead aid, because what happens in African countries is that when they get aid, it's such it's very unfortunate to express, but there are always there's always corruption there. And what ends up happening is that aid, it's used for ideological purposes, it's used for corrupt purposes, and the people don't actually receive that aid. They don't receive it, and what ends up happening is that they're constantly getting this capital pool from Western countries, but it's not actually benefiting the people. Like I remember I was reading into it, and there was this case of a lot of African leaders using getting aid, and then you know what they were using it for? I forgot the leader's name, but he used the aid that he received to throw his daughter a wedding in an island in the Caribbean. Yeah,
Nice.
I know. Nice for them, but not for the not for the people. And even recently, actually, I'm not sure if it was 2022 or 2023, but it was reported that in Congo there was this huge scandal where potentially $6 million was lost, and essentially what happened, it was an entire aid scheme.
Okay.
So they were receiving aid, and it was meant to help the people that were being displaced in Congo due to conflict. And what happened is that the aid was being stolen, and it wasn't just being stolen by the country itself. It was actually being stolen by the people responsible for distributing it. Yeah, they were being blackmailed, and not just that. People would come in and say that they have issues. They'd lie, like, "Oh, we're displaced. We have this," and the money would be given to them. And the people who, and I remember it made me so emotional, Annika. I was reading the reviews, the people from Congo, and they were saying, this aid, like, it's not reaching us. It hasn't done anything for us. So, we're yet to see the potential that Africa is going to achieve. We've really yet to see it. And I can't wait to see it. I really can't wait to see it. And now for our final topic for today, Wahed Ventures, the $500 million venture capital arm of Aramco, has led a $5 million investment in Ynmo, a Saudi-based platform focused on improving educational and rehabilitative services for children, particularly those with disabilities. Now, this funding round, it also included Qatar Development Bank and Noor Ventures. So founded in 2017, Ynmo leverages AI to provide customized rehabilitation programs and consultations for families, aiming to enhance access to quality care and education across the Gulf region.
That's so cool. It's very important. It really shows how the Middle East, at least, or the Gulf especially, is trying to be more more diversity inclusive, more inclusive in general about its services, especially disability services, because Ynmo is the educational rehabilitative service provider. So it's just a beautiful wedging of a gap. Because when we work with technology, it is not always the most inclusive. So something like this, especially for children, is great.
It's great, and when I specifically read this, Annika, it makes me so emotional because my brother has autism.
Oh.
Yeah, my brother has autism. He has something, it's called Landau-Kleffner syndrome, and what it is that as someone ages, their ability for speech goes down. So he doesn't express himself in the way that we do in words. And actually, the entire reason, by luck, that I live in this country, that I'm here in this chair today, it's because of my brother. Because I could have done my schooling and my education in Sudan, and actually in Sudan you have a higher chance of getting into Ivy Leagues because your plea case of coming from a country in Africa, it's easier for you to get in. But the entire reason why me and my family we live here, it's for our brother. It's because my parents actually found education for him here. Yeah. It's so, especially in the UAE, they're so supportive of people with disabilities, people who are special needs. My parents could not find a single school in Sudan for my brother. Not a single school like the one that they found here called Safe Center. And they basically, they provide a lot of services, and even the speech therapist that he had, it was all here. And we don't realize it sometimes because maybe we don't go through it, but things like what Wahed Ventures is doing, especially like trying to leverage AI to create these programs. My brother is obsessed with technology, by the way. obsessed. I don't know what it is, but no, seriously, Annika, ever since I was a kid, and he even does it sometimes in front of people. Like, if he sees a stranger holding his phone, he'll go up to them.
Oh.
And I look at him, I'm like, come on, like, take my phone. Don't do that. But he's obsessed with technology. Like, the way my parents would make him happy is that my brother, when the first iPad actually came out, he was the first person to receive it.
Wow.
Because my father works in tech, and he found a way to get it for him. But just knowing how much kids with special needs actually love technology, to see that WAD Ventures it's doing this, it's leveraging AI, especially such a new tool that's only at its like beginning stages. They've already utilized it, and they're going to do more with it to improve education for people with disabilities, people with special needs. It's more important than ever because we don't realize it, because we were talking about this yesterday. Remember when you were saying that we're so privileged and entitled? And
I didn't say we're entitled. I said we're privileged.
Oh yeah. What's it called? We were having this discussion, and I heard entitled and privileged, and immediately said I'm not, because I heard the word entitled first. But Annika was saying, like, we're so privileged. We're so privileged, and we don't realize that there are other countries. They don't provide what WAD Ventures is doing. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't provide it whatsoever.
But you know, just to be the little pinch of salt in your soup.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, because I know that, I don't know if you remember, there were those reports when AI came out about how AI is incapable of differentiating different skin tones, different
Ooh.
nationalities. So for example, they're more receptive to the Caucasian male face or the Caucasian female, whereas like they're not very capable of sensing or detecting like an Indian face maybe, or an Asian face. So I just wish that, I just hope, and that's why that is one of the main flags they put up when they go, like when a country says they're going to use AI for facial recognition technology, you know, to locate your face in a crowd, so, because it's naturally that the AI would go to faces that it doesn't recognize. So like an Asian face like mine, maybe, you know,
And
making
that
it
does pose
more
a danger of some sort.
dangerous. But I'm pretty sure that things have been flagged, so they might be working on it. But I'm not really sure actually.
No, but by the way, let me tell you something. Saudi Arabia, it is accommodating for that. Just very
Really?
recently, I read, not necessarily with the skin color, I haven't read anything specifically about that, but with the language. With the language itself, they are developing AI tools that are completely in Arabic to accommodate for the Saudi population. And I mention language because language, it's my Arabic is as close to me as is my skin. It's something so important to me. So when I read into that, and the fact that they're accommodating for that and they're providing these tools, it's happening, Annika. They're on the move. It's happening. We'll get there. But you concerned me, because if it's spawning, no, seriously, you did. If it's spawning faces it doesn't recognize, then maybe certain people will be blamed for things they didn't do.
I'm just looking through actually on the web for insight into this, because I don't just want to say anything.
Yeah, but while Annika is looking for that, just to give you guys more context, so Ynmo actually plans to scale its operations across the Gulf, and it plans to introduce new platform features, and it actually is it's planning an expansion. So this is not just going to be in Saudi Arabia. They're also trying to expand themselves into Qatar. So soon enough, these services that they provide that are so amazing for people with special needs, for people with disabilities, they're going to be all over the Gulf. They're going to be everywhere. Did you find it?
Which is cool. Yeah. What I do see is that I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm seeing. You know, when you do those AI, you ask an AI chatbot to create images of, like, let's say, Emirati women.
Yeah.
Or, and like the images that they do create.
Did?
No, I didn't. But like, anytime you see those videos of like, we asked AI to create images of like Emirati women, or like, you know, some woman. Have you noticed that this one is usually very fair? Their skin tone is usually fair. Or let's say you ask AI to
Just did it. Let's find out,
Yeah.
man.
Or you ask AI to like, well, depict an Emirati woman. The idea that AI will show you usually is like sand and camels, when we know that the UAE has progressed much further.
Oh my God. She is right. She is absolutely right. It just gave me white woman, but with a hijab.
Yeah, with camels in the background, maybe, or sand, desert.
It was
anything.
a masjid in buildings, actually.
Masjid and
this
buildings,
is advanced
okay.
ChatGPT.
Okay, sorry,
And the fact,
my bad.
no, I actually mentioned that it's advanced ChatGPT, the one that is paid for, because they gave me white woman with like a really horrible contour.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So you see how like AI is incapable of like, and like let's say you go like, so if the minute you go like show her in Dubai or like show her in the UAE, it's usually something, it's very stereotypical. It's a very like a one story narrative, which is very dangerous, because it, you know, that is my fear with AI, the fact that it sticks to the stereotypes. But that is only right now, and we're still in the beginner stages. So
Oh my God, Annika, take a look at this.
What's
so
happening?
basically, I searched up, the search was ChatGPT, create AI images of Emirati women in the UAE. Don't they look white?
they do.
They do look white.
That's the thing, so it doesn't allow-
And speaking of the features that, sorry for cutting you off. Speaking of the features that you said, it gave them really ugly noses. And I have a lot of Emirati best friends, and they are so beautiful, and they don't, do you see the noses? Do you see what's wrong with the faces? Do you see it? Do you recognize it?
Yeah.
They even made them ugly. They gave them ugly noses. And then I wrote here, wait, let me show you. ChatGPT, create AI images of white woman. And look at them. Look at them. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that is my fear with AI. This precisely, this whole, this inability to, you know, differentiate and respect the diversity.
Yeah, the race war isn't over.
I feel like we as human beings are still struggling to learn it. So imagine technology is going to, like technology being programmed by these humans. It's going to take a lot more time. One can only wait and hope for the best.
Whoa. I'm sorry, I actually never knew this, because I never asked ChatGPT to create images for me.
Yeah.
So I really just never deeped this. But even
This
I've
is one of
noticed-
the reasons I stopped asking ChatGPT to create images.
You know, even Annika, I've noticed something when I ask ChatGPT like a certain question about like a story or like a news story. I just want a bit of context for myself. I noticed that it always leads with the web perspective. And you know how I noticed that back when I was an intern and I was just trying to work very quickly and finish things quickly. I'd ask ChatGPT for help, and I would take its narrative. And do you know what would happen? I'd read it in the comment sections, and the comment sections would say, this is a very Western perspective. And then I'd sit there and I'd reflect on it, and I'm like, that is true.
Yeah,
You don't realize it
exactly.
in the moment because you're reading it, you're trying to find the fact. But the way that it's phrased, wow.
But you know what is an amazing thing? Even ChatGPT can tell that Palestine should be free. So
Amen. Amen to that. Amen to that.
yeah, they
And-
actually finally able to learn that, because someone asked ChatGPT, can you do your research and tell me who's wrong or like what's happening? Yeah.
Wow, you know what? I'm gonna start experimenting with it more, because this just wow, I never knew this. But thank you so much for being here
course,
today,
it's my
Annika.
pleasure.
Thank you so much for gracing us with your interesting views.
Oh, thank you I learned a lot from you too.
I learned a lot from you today. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching, everyone.
I hope you were able to learn something from us.
Yes, this is the Smashi Business Show, a Smashi business production under the Augustus Media Podcast Network. You can find our newsletter on Smashi TV, and you can always find us, as always, on X, on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely, lovely Friday.